One day, Rupert was returning home from a stroll in the woods when he heard a commotion coming from his house. He looked into the garden, and a suitcase had been thrown across the lawn and had come open, spilling its contents across his dad's begonias. A pair of knickers, which he recognised as his mother's, were caught on one of the rose bushes. He stepped silently through the garden gate and listened to the sounds of impassioned shouting coming from his parents. "What do you mean, you're leaving?" shouted his father. "Yes, I bloody well am," his mother countered. "I'm leaving you and going off to start a new life with your brother Bruno. He cares for me." But I don't understand why," his father yelled back dejectedly. Why? 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 You dare to ask me why, you steaming great lump? Mind you, it's only to be expected a boring great thickhead like you would dare to ask that question. Look at you. For all these years I've had to put up with the sight of you in that boring brown suit with those bloody +4s. +4s? I ask you, it's the 21st century and you're still walking round looking like a 1930s gamekeeper in sodding +4s with your trousers tucked into your socks. Why not wear jeans? Flares even. Anything to vary it. A pair of chinos. Even some of those blasted tasteless tracksuit bottoms the chavs wear with the bottoms tucked into the socks of the... well, maybe not. But you get me drift. Anything but those bloody outmoded leg coverings. And what about that son of ours? He's as bad as you are. He lives in a bloody fantasy world. Between him and you, you've both driven me up the wall. 21 years old he is now, and he's still acting like a bloody 5-year-old. Still wearing bloody check trousers and a red jumper, not to mention the matching check scarf. The nights I've sat in worrying about him because he hasn't come home, going off for 2, 3, 4 days at a time on adventures. What was the last one? He came home last Friday after 13 days away and said he'd been up to the moon in a rocket with the professor and his assistant from Lapland. They'd met up with a cowboy who helps Father Christmas and been inadvertently captured by a gang of storks and taken up to a castle in the clouds. Then they'd been chased by a giant and narrowly escaped by stealing the giant's handkerchief and using it as a parachute back down to earth. And that was just one of the many times he'd gone out playing and not come back for days on end. And all the while I've been sat at home here like a good mother, not complaining, wondering where he is, if he's ever coming home, if at that very moment he isn't being held down somewhere by a gang of bear-cub-loving paedophiles and buggered senseless, while I'm trying to keep things together, doing me knitting and looking across at you, fiddling around with your stamp collection, smoking your pipe with those bloody +4s wrapped around your legs. And if for 1 minute I dare to raise some concern as to the whereabouts of our only son, all you could say was, "Oh, I suppose he'll be all right, dear. He'll be off having some adventure or other. I wouldn't worry about him." Worry? Worry? I've been out of my fucking mind, you callous, uncaring bastard. Anyway, that's it. I've had enough. I'm out of here. Bruno's coming for me in 10 minutes, and we're off to start a new life in the Black Forest. You two can look after yourselves from now on. I've had it. I want some TLC, and Bruno's the one to give me some. He makes me feel like a woman. But you're a bear, dear, interrupted Father. "Ah!" screamed his mother. "And that's another thing. You're so fucking pedantic. And his father began again, puffing heavily on his pipe. Well, don't I make you feel like a woman? You didn't complain last year when I got you those black crotchless knickers from the Ann Summers catalogue. Trust you to remember that," spat his mother, and with a quick movement picked up a vase from the nearby table and threw it at Father's head as she made her way through the door and out into the road. Rupert walked into the house and bid his father a cheery, "Hello, Dad, what's up? Where's Mum off to?" She's going away for a few days. I've asked Uncle Bruno to take her to the seaside so she can rest a bit." "Why does she need to rest, Dad? What's wrong with her? We're a crotchless knickers." "Never you bloody mind," said Father a trifle aggressively. "I suppose you'll be hungry. I'll go and make us some soup. Go on up to your room." Rupert went upstairs to his bedroom and looked out of his window. My, how the world had changed since he was a little bear. He thought of all the happy times he'd had playing on Nutwood Common. Not much chance of that happening now, since the builders had stuck a load of 3-storey homes all over it, despite it being designated a floodplain. He looked over to the horizon where he could see Nutscale Nuclear Power Station, where his old mate Bingo the brainy pup worked as a junior scientist. He mused on the changing lives of all his old school friends. Algie Pug was in his second year at Nutwood Uni and looked on course to be saddled with student debts for the rest of his natural. Podgy the pig was now so clinically obese that he'd recently have to have the wall of his parents' home removed so he could visit hospital for a gastric band fitting. Freddie and Ferdy Fox were both doing a 12 stretch at Nutwood Scrubs for armed robbery. Tiger Lily and her father had both gone back to China and had been jailed for supporting Tibetan dissidents, and his best mate, Bill the Badger, had unfortunately been torn limb from limb in a recent baiting incident that had turned up on YouTube. Why do all the happy things in life have to end, thought Rupert, as he began to put clothes into a suitcase it pulled from under the bed. Mummy seems to think I still act like a little boy, dressing up in a red jumper and checked trousers. Well, let her. It's probably as well that neither of my parents know the real truth about my secret life. I've been wondering for years how they didn't work out all those strange stories to explain my long absences were just a charade, to cover up the fact that I have a lucrative career on the drag club circuit. Poor old Dad would have a fit if he could see me in me basking suspenders playing to a load of fat businessmen. And Mother, well, she would be astounded at the latest addition to my act. Now, where did I put those +4s with the Velcro fastenings?